Hi, I'm Terry Moore, and this is another video in our series about what we're calling the unified path, which is to say a path that unifies all of the elements of ourselves so that we can be whole and even more successful at the notion of transcending ourselves because we're dealing with all of ourselves. And we say that is a matter of body, mind, heart, and soul. That's what the unified path is. Now, we've gone over several of these elements, the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul, before. But what I'm going to do today is to tell you how it's affected me, and particularly this element we're calling the mind, the thinking element. Now, I hope we all know there's value in great literature, whether we're talking about the saints and the sages of history, or even those who have great things to say, and maybe contemporaries, things that engage our mind and can use our mind to point to higher things. But there are several experiences that I've had that were decisive in setting me on this path, and I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you about a couple of them. Both of them actually happened to me in high school. One of them was a grammar exercise, of all things, in which the teacher wrote a number of words on the board, and the words were that, is, that, is, not, and ask us to punctuate the sentence. Well, after a little trial and error, we all, I think, pretty much punctuated the sentence correctly, and when it was punctuated correctly, it read, that is, that is not, is not. And I remember being just thunderstruck by that. I remember thinking, that's it. That's everything. That's the whole thing. That is, that is not. And I remember going back after class and staring at that sentence on the board and thinking, that's everything. That's everything. And then sometime later, I think it was in the same year, I had this experience with a math problem. And it was a extra credit math problem that I was solving late at night. And when the solution, the last step, occurred to me, I got this tremendous awe experience in looking at the history of mathematics. When Johannes Kepler discovered the harmonic law, he said he felt at that moment as if he held the secrets to creation in his hands. My experience wasn't perhaps that exalted, but it was of the same category. It was startling, it was thrilling, it was opening. And it really got my attention and helped me decide that I wanted to spend more time doing things that were important or that led to or were in association with those kinds of experiences and that kind of learning. So even though we're talking about grammar and we're talking about high school mathematics, it was still critically important in terms of using my mind to understand there's more than just things to think about. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion in spiritual circles about leaving the mind behind, or about getting past the mind, or in some cases killing the mind. And I understand all of those, and all of those have their place, because finally, knowledge, real knowledge of that which is the true, the one, ourselves, is not conceptual knowledge. But on the way to knowing that, on the way to understanding, assimilating, and having that as part of our existential experience, things that occur to the mind can be very helpful. They can point in the direction of things that can help us. They can give us ideas. The mind, after all, is a very good tool for what it does, as long as we're not asking it to do things that it really wasn't designed to do. But it's very helpful. It can open us up. It can give us insights. And for me, in my experience, my own experience, the kinds of mind things, the reading activities that were important to me, tended to be poetry. It's poetry that works for me. I know others have different approaches, understand things differently. Sometimes it's simple doctrine, sometimes it can be a narrative, sometimes it's some of the great drama of history that can open us up onto higher things. But for me, it's been poetry, and in this connection, I'm reminded of William Faulkner's comment about how he wrote novels, and the reason he wrote novels is that he had failed as a short story writer, and he figured that the people who wrote short stories had failed at poetry. Poetry is really the highest of those arts, in my opinion, and it does a much better job of pointing at and giving us a sense of that which is beyond words and concepts and language. For me, I enjoy T.S. Eliot, Edna St. Vincent Millay, and to some degree Emily Dickinson, among many, many others. But for me, it's reading not simply metaphysical doctrine, but also poetry. This all fits in the category that we call the mind, and you have a mind, and now it's, I'd say, my challenge to you to find those things that you can see or read or understand that help you open up your world onto that which is larger and transcendent.